Hello and welcome. I would like to thank everybody for joining us today for this HITEC TV session talking about door locks and the contactless environment that is ahead of us all right now. Thank you very much for the panelists for joining me today. We have panelists from Assa Abloy, Salto Systems, and OpenKey, and we'll really be digging into all of the interesting facts and figures that are surrounding us when it comes to how people want to interact with a hotel. What is changing? How is it going to change in the future, and so on. This entire event is taking place in a pre-recorded fashion. However, as time permits, we may get into some very interesting thought leadership topics as we go through the process. One of the things that I think is really important to note is door locks are kind of you have the front desk and then you hit the door lock. That's kind of like the second thing that you see when you're walking into a hotel. And we've always taken them for granted, which is kind of normal. However, with the advent of mobile technology, smartphones, RFID, and a myriad of other things, they became more and more integral to our stay. And even now, as COVID enters in some areas into its fourth wave, which hopefully will be less severe than the previous ones, we're actually going ahead and seeing travel pick up in every region of the globe, and door locks are really at the forefront of that guest experience. So what I'd like to do is to introduce the panel. I'd like to start off with Beth Kahwajy from Salto Systems. Beth, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And if you could introduce yourself and the company, and then we'll move on to our next panelist and then get into the questions.
Of course, thank you. Again, Beth Kahwajy with Salto Systems. I am the North American vertical leader for hospitality, working with business development and integrations. And Salto has been around since 2001, redefining the access control world by continually being the first to anticipate market needs in a rapidly evolving marketplace. So, and we do all of that with next generation electronic lock and solutions with no wires and no mechanical keys.
All right. Nico, you're up next. Nico from Assa Abloy. Nico Aznar.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam, and thank you for the opportunity. So yes, I've been in the industry for a while. I used to be part of a company called Micros Fidelio. Now it's Oracle Hospitality for 13 years. And now I'm the president for Americas for Assa Abloy Global Solutions for the past 6-7 years I've been with the company. And I think that's we invented this type of lock many, many years ago with Ving, the famous Ving lock. That it was a punch lock with a punch key card and no batteries and so on. It was very innovative at the time, and we have been innovating in this industry since then with first mobile keys. We did it with Starwoods. That was a few years ago. So we're very proud of our position in the market. Thank you.
Awesome. And Ron Owens from OpenKey. Welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Alan. Ron Owens with OpenKey. I'm the CEO and president, and OpenKey has been in this industry for 6 years. We're the leading provider of digital keys, allowing guests to open their hotel room door with their mobile device. And we kind of are leading the way to pilot a vision of a mobile application that behaves as your best front-end agent, front desk agent. So that's the goal. To what we do, trying to give guests this contactless option.
That's awesome. So before we get right into all the nitty gritty, how have you all been coping with COVID on a personal level, and then also, business wise? I see a lot of people working from home. So Beth, let me kick it off with you.
The schedule really hasn't changed much for me. I've been working from home for about 10 or 12 years. So personally, for the office space for me, it's gotten better because I actually moved during COVID. So I do have a dedicated space, which is great. But travel to see customers has been pulled to a halt, I think, for all of us. And it's been very difficult. But I think we've all realized how to do things a little bit differently. Teamwork within our own company has been really great. We've been able to realize how to do that collectively, and then working with customers. But I think as we slowly get back into travel, it's been really great being able to see people in person. There's a lot of people showing up to events because I think we just need to get out of the house. So it's really great being able to see people in person now.
That's awesome. Ron, what do you think? Same gig, same deal?
Yeah, very similar. Obviously, I mean, there's not an industry out there that wasn't affected in 2020, but I think one of the things that it forced us to do is really challenge assumptions. Who would have ever, in 2019 predicted the shutdowns, the restricted travel, and everything else that goes with that. And of course, the impact on the hospitality industry was significant, right, with the loss of revenue and other things. And I think for us, it really started to change the perspective both of our clients, the properties, but also travelers, right? So contactless all of a sudden becomes first and foremost top of mind, security and health related. And then, now, like Beth mentioned, as we enter the recovery, it sort of changes, I think, the value proposition for all of us, right? We have to look to help the properties both save money and costs and look at that because of the financial straits that they were in, but also how do we help them generate revenue and as they rebound, and in particular leisure travel looks like it's making a very strong comeback from this past summer season. And I think there's a little bit of an unknown as to what's going to happen with business travel going forward. So, but adjusted, we're a hybrid. We work some days in the office, some days without. We've got a couple of locations. We're trying to be flexible, and just do what's prudent, take, reasonable precaution and get back to work. So.
And Nico, I see you're working from home too. Any disruptions to your life?
Well, yes, I think nobody was expecting this at all, right? It's
Yes.
strange to say the least. But it was strange because it didn't develop as we thought. And even if we didn't have any preconcept idea of what was going to happen, there's a couple of surprises. The first thing we did, we isolated our warehouse and everything that had to do with product shipment and delivery, because we never wanted that to be affected. People will still need their parts and pieces. So the aftermarket, of course, was affected in our world, but the new construction, for example, it was the opposite. It actually went up. The people wanted to finish their constructions. And we actually reinforced our service and support, because one thing that happened is the hotels were still open, but not with all the staff. And so they needed our help more than ever. And actually, we did some waiving to help them financially during the pandemic, to waive their service fees and so on. But still, we needed to be there to help a front desk clerk sometimes, not even the manager, who was trying to deal with everything, being the engineer at the hotel and also the food and beverage and doing the hamburger, trying to break it up in pieces. But it was interesting. And as Ron said, I don't know, nobody imagined we were going to go online with the entire company in 24 hours or something.
Right. Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
It worked. That's a crazy thing. It was we start measuring call taking and quotes making and all the KPIs that you can imagine, and those remain pretty stable actually during the pandemic. So there was some details, of course, that affected, but in general, we were able to keep the staff, and so it was not as bad as it looked like in the numbers when you see occupancy and average daily rate and all those KPIs that looks terrible, but in reality, we managed it to survive pretty well and to keep servicing our customers the best way we can.
Well, I want to kind of talk about something a little bit that you brought up there, which is the labor issue and how hotels are struggling trying to fill open recs, or conversely, they're trying to just manage their business with less people. And do your platforms address this issue? You know, it's front and center. So Ron, I'm going to start with you, and then I'll move on.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very stark reality, right? The reality is that everybody's had to do more with less in terms of resourcing, and certainly our solution enables people to bypass the front desk with mobile check-in and do some other things. And we're very blessed at OpenKey to partner with Assa Abloy and Salto Systems, two of the leading lock manufacturers, to provide an integrated solution to allow them the properties to do that. And I think that's really the key, is that when you take a look at everything that's required to manage the property, Nico was touching on some of those points. We're really trying to meet the properties where they are and provide the solution that they need. So in all of those areas, and I just think that that's going to continue to grow. Right.
Beth, what do you think?
Yeah, I would echo what Ron says. They've been great integrators with Salto, and being able to have a frictionless check-in. So if you've got less people at the front desk, or less people at housekeeping, or less people being able to even have room service if they have it, having that communication with an app to be able to have an easier check-in time, less people to have to communicate with. 90% of the people actually want something that's sort of frictionless and touchless. So when you look at hospitality, to be able to sort of take care of all of that check-in information before you arrive at the hotel, you can go straight to your room, and you can choose whether you want housekeeping every day or every third day or what have you. So being able to alleviate some of the pressure of the folks working at the hotels by being a little more flexible as a guest, I think the apps are able to do that. And it also helps the people in the back of the house as well. So it's been difficult, I think, on everybody, but I think the things we can do to help the hoteliers with their supply and demand is the best we can do.
Yeah, for sure. So Nico, I'm going to ask you a different one, because you said that you worked with micros, and I did too, way back when. But even before that, my very first job was as the minibar attendant at the Four Seasons Hotel in Vancouver. And that was 1983. So I'm dating myself. Four Seasons back in those days, we had keys. So we weren't really, we thought of the key as being that part of the luxury aspect of the brand. And so we went from keys to door locks to, Ving card, all of this stuff. And then, now we're at a point where the door locks have become a completely different apparatus than they have been previously. How hard is it to say, okay, Hotel A over here with 200 rooms, you want to be able to do everything that the industry tells you can do now, i.e. mobile check-in, utilize a smartphone as a opening device for the door, etc. How hard is that to kind of get it from where it is today, maybe using an RFID card, to utilizing all of the other platforms that people can use today?
It's not that difficult at all. Actually, our locks, for example, they bring with Bluetooth for last couple of years. So they're already embedded. If it's not embedded, it's old. But RFID, it's just a little board. If it's that it's open and go next to the battery, so it's a simple thing. And if it's mag and it's 15 years old, even you can upgrade that, just changing the reader. So it's not that difficult. I think that it's the change is more on all the process internally of the hotel when they check in, assign the room, give them generate a key, make sure that the room is clean, all those things that normally happen at the front desk level. now happens on the cloud, happens on virtually, digitally. You mentioned that the door lock is the second thing that the guest has contact with in a hotel. I think it's the first one now. I think
yes, you're right.
they get the key before when they're in the airport. They already get the key, and they can choose if they want to go to the front desk and discuss the amenity of the hotel, say hello, and all the Four Seasons greetings and all the spirit of luxury, which is part of it, and of course. Or if it's a business trip and they don't want to talk to anybody and get in, get out, and do whatever they have to do without friction. So I think it's more in the choice, but yeah, it's funny. I mean, when we mention guest, it's a very different guest at the Four Seasons in a resort than a highway hotel, right. 100-room hotel. So. But it's not that difficult at all to change it. Right. It's called what we call digital strategy, and we walk through that with the customer. We have partners like OpenKey that makes the journey a little bit more easier, because it's about the look and feel and how it's the process of making keys, the integrations with the property management system, with a key system, etc. So it's you need a good partner to help you out, but it's not that difficult. It's just
right.
It sounds like a science project, but it's not. We did hundreds of hotels in a few months with different chains, so it can be done.
Interesting. So Beth, it's not open heart surgery?
It is not open. It's open lock surgery.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, I had to go for it. And you bring up a really good point, and Nico had touched on it a little bit, but then again, it's security, right? So sometimes hoteliers want to make sure that everything is secure. You start talking about the cloud, and you start talking about using different mobile phones. What are we going to do with the lock? What's the conversation like between the lock and the cloud and the app? So we take security very, very seriously. We host hackathons. It doesn't ever happen. They're never successful. So that's great for everyone to understand. And, you get into every hotel wants to make sure they're secure, but you get into some of those higher brand hotels, those 6-7 star hotels, and there's different people staying in different places. Right. So you want to make sure that all of that information is secure, and we definitely take that very, very seriously.
Right, and it makes complete sense. Security is paramount. There's no doubt about it. And Nico, yeah, for me, the door is the second thing, because I'm called a high maintenance traveler. Because I love to talk to people. So it's I want to see the people at the front desk. It doesn't matter. And I think that's the interesting mix, right? Is you have different market segments in our industry, and that's what makes our industry so amazing. And the fact that people in different market segments want to be treated differently, they want to interact differently. But what it really boils down to is we're in a relationship-oriented business. And so Ron, my next question is for you then. If we are in a relationship-oriented business and it is about service and guests, how do you ensure that people utilizing an application still feel as if they're part of that hospitality experience?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the things that I think is very interesting, so I have a pretty extensive software background, and coming to this, one of the neatest things about getting into hospitality that I was told very early on is everybody's nice, and that's absolutely true, right? It's just people just genuinely want that relationship. One of the things that I've done in the past with software is that self-service was generally regarded as just a way to cut costs. So if your bank offered you self-service either through an ATM or a kiosk or through a interactive voice response that you call into online, generally people hated it, right? They're just like, well, they're just trying to save money. I just want this. I just want that. What I've seen over the last probably 5 years, and it's really accelerated over the last 2, is that convenience is being associated with luxury. And so I think one of the things that you hit on is that there's different demographics want to be treated ways. But I would even go a step further and say that your circumstances dictate how you want to be treated. So if I'm arriving at 11:30 p.m. and I've got an 8 a.m. business meeting in the next morning, and my flight was delayed 4 hours when I thought I would be, arriving at dinner time or whatever, I'm probably going to want to opt to, as Beth mentioned, get my key while I'm, catching an Uber out of the airport and just go straight to my room and just be done. But if everything goes on schedule, let's say, and I arrive at 4, I might be more like you, and I want to stop by the front desk, see what the amenities I might take advantage of during those 4 hours, get a dinner recommendation. I think that luxury brands are starting to see the fact that luxury is equivalent to choice. So, to use a pedestrian example, when I walk into the grocery store, they pile all the gourmet stuff in front, right? Just as you enter, the cheeses and the fancy wines and everything. And you can probably tell from my accent, I don't really buy a lot of that, but I love seeing it, baby. I want to see that stuff and think that I have a choice before I go on and buy my normal options. And I just think that that's what's key for properties, right? You want to meet your customer where they are, and you want to give them the option to do what their circumstances dictate. And I've seen some great examples. Nico mentioned one of our joint customers. And he's talking about Four Seasons that they work with, and as does Salto as well. I've stayed at Four Seasons. They have a great brand. Right? Their application just absolutely reflects who they are. And that allows them to offer the great front end desk check-in. It offers a great option for a self-service application. And both of those things are absolutely in unison. And I really think that's the key, right? If you're going to offer a contactless solution, you want to do it like they're doing it by embedding it with their brand. And I really think that's the name of the game, right? You want a seamless solution, frictionless has been used, and you just want it to be something that reinforces who they are.
Yeah, for sure. And, you bring up the really good point about, partnerships, right? It's so important. But as our industry evolves and becomes, believe it or not, even more complex than it could be previously, right? Who would have thought? I remember the days when you'd have a spaghetti chart of all the integrations on in a hotel property. It'd be everything from PBX to doorlocks to somebody named Bob. So everything had to integrate. So my question is, do you see integration as a primary issue that you deal with? And evolutionarily wise, do you see even more integrations happening? And maybe what are those in the future? Nico, let's start with you.
Absolutely, they're key. And I don't see it as an issue. I see it as an opportunity, I think. Integrations, we need to accept we're part of an ecosystem.
That was my hotel guy coming out. That was the issues.
Yeah, okay. From that point of view, that's in the spaghetti. And
that's right.
But yeah, in our world, it's more opportunities because we are part of an ecosystem. We are the more we, of course, we provide what we provide at the best level of quality, which is security, as Beth says. So it's the highest level of security, the encryption, the facility of changing that quickly. If something goes wrong, it's not about only not being hacked, because in these days everything at some point happens. But being able to react very quickly and seamlessly, and nobody will notice. And so we do what we do fantastically well, but there's a lot of other vendors and providers. And from a hotelier point of view and guest point of view, those partnerships are key. They cannot reinvent the wheel on every hotel. They want people that know each other, and they are talking to each other, and that if they buy different solutions on what is best for them, that those solutions are being integrated and being part of it. As an example, we have an Internet of Things solution that we offer in hotels. We use it for panic distress for hotels, for maids and staff members. And that is, at the end of the day, it's just it's a network. At the end of the day, it's the ability to have the property mesh with an Internet of Things network to do geolocalization inside the property. What you can use it for? Well, it's many uses and that's part of today's world of complexity. But at the same time, some complexity is gone. For example, the server at the property that you have to put the antivirus and those type of things that, like you said, you enter the server room and it was cables going, serial cables going from one computer to another, not even computers, like boxes and things like that in the past. Right now, you enter the server room, it's empty. There's nothing there. It's air conditioning. So, and that's the beauty of it. It makes it more complexity, more connections, but at the same time, the simplicity of how that's done. Behind the scene, it's an issue. You're right.
So Beth, over to you about more opportunities for APIs and connectivity.
There are definitely opportunities, and it makes hospitality more of a state-of-the-art experience. Just to sort of hop back to your last question, when people leave their homes, whether it's for business travel or leisure travel, they want something that they don't have at home, right? So they want to stay somewhere beautiful, and they want to have an experience that's not what they have every day. And so for a property to be able to have some integrations that we all sort of work with, creates sort of the state-of-the-art experience at a hotel. So you can, it starts by using your phone as the key. You can check in on your phone. You can choose a room on your phone. You could bypass the front desk if you wanted to, and then you could use your phone as a remote control for the TV. You can change the thermostat. You can open the drapes. So the connectivity between the guest room lock or the security system in the hotel becomes this wide variety of opportunities throughout the property, not just in the room, but tracking the towel at the spa or the pool, or ordering food and using your phone to put it on the POS system to your room. And then even for the employees, the back of house and the employees that sort of run the system to make our stay so great, there's integrations for them as well. So I think it's only going to get better. There will be more and more opportunities for integrators. We love to integrate with the right partners to give the experience not only to the guests, but also to the hotel, the staff, and the owners. So it's just a bigger picture than just an integration on the front end. It's a really big picture.
Makes a lot of sense. So we've had 18 months, if not longer, of what could be deemed as downtime. Even though I think the U.S. has done much better than Canada, where I am, and some other regions in Europe and APAC. But during that downtime, when everybody was thinking, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? It was also an opportunity for companies to take a look at their business, to take a look at their modeling, to take a look at their strategy and different tactics, and also to take a look at their R&D. Over that 18-month period, and Ron, I'm going to start with you. Did you take a look at your path forward and what needed to be changed, and do some research about the product and software development side of your business?
Yeah, so that's a great segue, Alan, to kind of just tag on to where you're going and where Beth and Nico left off. What we're really seeing is a shift to a platform economy, right? So if you think about how software is designed in general and how everything's moved to the cloud, what we're really talking about is hospitality is entering this area where it's all about the platform and the ability to create, as Beth mentioned, those unique experiences quickly. And so we really evaluated that foundationally, and that's exactly what we had to do, right? We're having to redesign, and we're in the process of rolling out a system that completely changes into that model, because if you think about the hospitality market, you've got independents, you've got portfolios, and then you've got the brands that we've talked about. Really, each of those needs a solution that's slightly different potentially from each of us, right? Everybody on the panel here provides someone like that, a different component in the holistic nature of what they're looking to provide. Large brands have lots of things that they're developing on their own, creating a unique experience, and you need to tie into that. So in some instances, you're providing, maybe one core feature. Maybe we're just doing digital keys and they're doing, a lot of the other software, back-end integration to food and beverage or other things on their own. A portfolio may not have quite that level of resources, but they still want to offer something that's unique, but they're combining kind of a best-in-breed solution from some chosen vendors. And so, you may be providing a broader solution with, filling in the gaps, and an independent, maybe looking to you to help bring together 3 or 4 partners. And in those cases, we're the platform that brings together a holistic solution that gives them the end-to-end guest experience. And I think all of us on the panel really are just challenged with, how do we create, to overuse the word maybe a little bit, that platform that allows people to plug these things in to create what they're looking to do and differentiate themselves in their market, because they are different. And, you're just not going to succeed as a one-size-fits-all in this marketplace. And so we absolutely saw that, and we've absolutely been adapting to that.
Nico, did you make any did you have any radical epiphanies during the downtime that you said, oh, well, this is something we really need to focus on over here or over there?
I think the software industry, it made a huge leap with artificial intelligence in the past months. I will say maybe a couple of dozen months, but a huge one. So other than changing our CRM, our ERP, our systems, and every system that we use internally that we actually did, because the difference between the old way of doing things and the new way of doing things is so big that it really changed. But yes, we launched a number of solutions that cloud-based, to be as nimble as possible on the implementation at the hotel level, but as powerful as you can be by the cloud computing and processing. So we do, like I said, both to access management, both to access control, both to location solutions that I mentioned before. So there's a lot of things, and also our customers, they're also bringing a lot of innovation to us to keep up as well.
I bet they are. Beth, how about you?
Yeah, I would echo what Ron and Nico were saying. You think we would consider this as downtime, but it really wasn't. We were really working hard behind the scenes. You talk about R&D, we do all of that in-house and testing. And so we do have a couple new products coming out, some software. We had time to be able to get introduced or introduce ourselves to new integrators. And so it's been a learning experience, and it was an exciting time internally for us to be able to learn more about ourselves, learn more about our customers and our partners. And so I think we're coming out stronger on the other side. So we're able to give our customers and their guests what they're looking for, and look what the next generation is going to look like in hospitality. So we've been working hard like everybody else.
Right. So a little bit of a flyer here, but there are a few companies out there today that are really experimenting heavily with facial recognition and how that's going to be utilized, if at all, because there are, we see things in the news about privacy issues, etc. Do you think in the future that facial recognition will be an option, not only for this contactless, touchless, frictionless environment, but also to open up a door? Beth, I'm going to go right back to you on that.
I think the subject matter around facial recognition is security. It's the
Right.
it's the number one thing you really have to look at. We haven't looked at it yet, but we would definitely, utilize partners to be able to do that. But it's a big conversation. We strictly comply with many European and global security standards, so I don't think it would be an issue for us to get into that kind of thing. But it's definitely a security conversation that you have to go back and forth with the customer and with your partner to be able to do that.
Right. Would you feel comfortable opening up a door with your own image?
I open my phone with it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's the key.
Do you?
I do.
I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, we used to use our finger, right? And
Yeah.
you've got locks. You can use your finger. You can use your finger to open your laptop. So I think the facial recognition, I think it was slow in the very beginning with the phone, but I think we've realized that security has covered that. So
Right.
yeah.
Ron, what you jump in because you said you
Well,
think that's the key.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun.
Exactly. No pun intended. I think Beth hit the nail on the head, right? It's driven by what people get comfortable with on their mobile device. And I certainly don't disagree with you that privacy concerns are legitimate. I think that the security concerns are real. But I think we're moving more and more, boy, if you just talk about it in a global society sense, I think we're moving more and more to two-factor authentication. And I absolutely think that, using facial recognition along with another form, perhaps of the digital key combined with that, or some combination of that, is going to be commonplace used as an option. Because I think guests and consumers in general are always looking to balance security and convenience. And I think a lot of people are getting more comfortable with facial recognition for exactly the reason Beth said. They're getting comfortable using it every day with their phone. As it continues to expand and grow in those instances, it's a natural extension to take the authentication that occurs on your phone, federate that to another device. Nico mentioned the Internet of Things. I think you start seeing a play there overall into, how do I know it's me? And our phones are becoming such a, we talk about digital wallets now, and the reality is that's where we carry them. And
Right.
So I think it's absolutely biometric data in general is going to be very commonplace and be used. It's just the bigger question is how quickly will it roll out, right? The adoption rate could be more of a debate, but I think it's definitely going to be a thing of the future.
Nico, I got to throw this one over to you because it's pretty cool. What do you think?
I agree with Ron. I think that it's something that it's definitely coming. Assa Abloy is a big group. For the ones that don't know it, we own 350 companies, and there were HID, meaning naming just one, and we work with biometrics a lot. In the hotel industry, it's a slow mover, but at the same time, it has to do with investment, with cost benefit of the solution, and also with security, as Beth and Ron were saying. Today, the IDs can be in different shapes or form. It could be, we talk about the phone, but in reality, it's also a wearable. It could be an Apple Watch, or it could be, we have with a big chain, cruise ship chain, we own technology together with a medallion. So it's a piece of jewelry that in reality it's nice, but also it has some technology in it. It's a piece of technology, and that identify yourself. So and those things are much easily to change if something goes wrong than your finger or your face. So that's actually
That's
the point.
not as expensive either.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So you mentioned cruise ships, and let's talk about, what I'm seeing in a lot of the industry is our industry is very dynamic. A room is a room, but a room can be situated anywhere. When you look at cruise ships, that's a high environment, or lots of folks in that area. Same thing for a large casino, hotel in Vegas, etc. But what about the alternative lodging sector? As more and more companies tend to be grabbing up more properties and offering that different environment, do you see that as coming up as well to being within your kind of or on your radar? Beth, I'll start with you.
You're exactly right. Hospitality is now lodging. What's the difference? So it's staying somewhere else other than your home. So we are seeing a lot of new type of lodging experiences. We had hostels, and we thought that was really different than a hotel situation. But now we're looking at short-term rentals, whether it's Airbnb or VRBO. We're looking at co-living as a new type of stay. So we're doing a lot of work in that type of environment, and there are great partners that we work with to have access to those spaces that don't have any front desk at all. So
Right.
there has to be communication between yourself and the property before you get there. So you do need a smartphone. You have to be a little savvy to be able to find the place that you want to stay, know that their spaces are out there, and then have the access to the space to stay there. So they're all over the world. They're becoming more and more. Some of these apartment buildings are becoming short-term rentals. To know that later they might sell them as condos, in 10 years. So there's a lot out there to be said for other types of stay than the traditional hotel stay.
Ron, do you feel the same way with your firm?
I do. We've got some clients that are already in that hybrid mix of offerings that are quasi residence, quasi short-term stay, everything that we've mentioned. And so I think we're going to continue to adapt and go that way, because the solution is almost property agnostic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Virtually everyone's carrying the smartphone. The digital key is a very convenient thing to do. And as you particularly target people younger than I am, though I rarely leave home without my smartphone either, but it's practically attached, for people at the age of 13 going forward, right? So the one thing they're not going to lose, where they might lose a key or their car keys or other things, I just don't have many instances where the smartphone is mislaid. And I think that lends itself to be driven into other markets where people want something that's convenient, can be delivered, over the internet. We're constantly connected, just occasionally disconnected. So it really allows that ability to fit that short-term stay market, like Beth was talking about, right? So
right.
you can download it and expire it at will.
And that's so important for the individual property owners that have an Airbnb, right? That
Right.
just want to make sure the fact that they'll have a property management company that's cleaning up and making sure it's ready, but they want to be able to be in control of who's getting access to that property at any given moment, irrespective of location.
Exactly. And talking about PIN codes or other things, right? There's no control once someone has that PIN code, what could be done with it. Whereas the digital key, we can control the sharing and other things. And again, it's just not terribly likely that people are sharing smartphones or other things. They're like giving your wallet to someone. So
yeah, you don't see PIN codes on cards very much anymore.
No,
there was a time when Cadillac said that was a good idea. Let's put a PIN code on a car.
There was a time. I agree.
Right, exactly. My Alexa is now in my ear telling me that I'm doing something incorrect. So that was the one thing I forgot to turn off. My apologies. So as we round up this conversation, what do you think the future holds for our industry, and what is your company doing to address all of the things? And if I've learned anything over the past 18 months or 24 months, is that we have to be adaptable to anything that comes our way. And and things change at a rapid pace. And even though we all put plans together, we'll put marketing plans or sales plans or all of these lovely plans that we put together, but they can get changed rather quickly. How has this affected your business, and what are you looking towards the future? Nico, I'm going to start with you. What does the future hold for Assa Abloy?
Well, thank you, and I'm sorry I'm putting a mute. There was a little bit of a noise.
That's okay. Was it your Alexa too answering my Alexa? Probably.
No, in my case, it's cutting the grass, so it's different. These are different types of assistant. Yes, the future definitely. It's what we have been talking during this call, during this event. It's getting everything connected, being able to identify yourself and getting the way you want it, and being able to choose. And that's Internet of Things that you can control everything you want, from the temperature you want to receive the room to your streaming in your TV of your favorite show, and you can choose it. So it's about that. It's about moving yourself with your identity to a different place in lodging, as Beth was mentioning, and that's our effort. We have a partnership program to make sure that everything that is out there, it can be addressed and integrated quickly to our solution. So we listen at our biggest customers and the smallest as well, to hear what they have in mind of the future of their technology, to attend guests, but also it's like it's two-sided coin. And one side, it's giving the convenience to the guest, while you can control the energy you use in the room, the amount of hot water you have to heat in the building, and all these things that makes the property being more efficient in personal and any type of services that they use, at the same time that gives the full convenience to the guest.
Right.
In any type of lodging that we mentioned, it could be a hotel, or it could be different apartments in the city that it's held by the same company, and they rent it. So
right. And so, Ron, I'll go over to you to what can we expect in the future from OpenKey?
Well, I think that we see the whole industry and our company being driven around kind of, to be a little bit cheesy here, 4 C's, right? It's really going to continue to be contactless. That's as an option. I think that's here to stay, and the events just keep reaffirming that, right? We're never going to go back to where we're just thoughtless about contact. So I think there's going to be an element of that we always have to consider. I think it's about choice is the second one, and really what that means, it's around, I think properties in general are going to realize that a high touch and a low touch choice or option for a guest experience needs to coexist. And I think that's really all brands and levels of luxury are coming to see that consumers are demanding that, and they want that choice. And then really the last two are around control and convenience, right? Guests want the convenience, and the properties want the control and the security, which Beth and Nico have both mentioned before, and I think that's paramount. You can't sacrifice that, but I think what you're going to see is that last bit, balancing that is really a driver. And so, when we look forward, we think the growth is going to be fueled in those areas, and it's really our job to provide solutions and integrations and partnerships to enable properties to have that. And I'd just like to say thanks again for the partnership with Salto and Assa Abloy. Just really great companies to work with, and we really appreciate that very much. And
Beth, we'll round it up with you.
Thank you, Ron. We appreciate the partnership as well. I think all those things are really important. Salto is also focused on sustainability. So our headquarters in Spain has now become 100% carbon neutral. Utilizing, recycling, 100% green electricity. So it's just the beginning part of becoming sustainability focused for even, a keyless sort of society. So we're trying to do our part in our R&D, manufacturing, et cetera, to be as sustainable and green as possible, utilizing solar, green technology, recycling, reduce, reuse, that sort of thing. And then, of course, being a good partner, because hotels are utilizing their spaces much more differently these days. They're using their lobbies as co-working. The rooms are getting smaller. There are different types of hospitality focus for different types of travelers. So we're just trying to be a really good partner, utilizing the integrations that they're looking for. Maybe they haven't found them, but we can do the introduction to help them become, a better lodging space for all of us to stay. So just trying to be a better partner and learn from inside and outside of our business.
That's awesome. Well, listen, Ron, Nico, and Beth, thank you so very much for spending your time with us today. This has been awesome, and I hope to be traveling very soon. I am allowed to go to the U.S. now because the borders are open, at least for me to jump on a plane. So that's good. And I know that you'll all be exhibiting at HITEC coming up, which will be great. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful event. And I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you there.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks
All right. I
much.
appreciate your time.
Bye.
Take care now.
All right. Bye.
Cheers.